to Aho, back for Svechnikov, he scores! Andrei Svechnikov ready to let it go, and he ties this game at 1. He's getting right to it and score! Shane Gostisbehere tees up Andrei Svechnikov. He's 2 for 2, and Carolina has a 2-1 lead. A chance, Svechnikov, Gostisbehere, back across, and Taylor Hall ties it! Oh, what a setup! And the Canes kept playing, and we're tied at 3. Aho turning around Pettersson. Oh, scores! Game over! Sebastian Aho wins it in overtime!
Well, how about that, everybody? Hurricanes win a hockey game 4-3. Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. Carolina wins it in overtime over the Vancouver Canucks. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, we are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If you are looking to improve the exterior of your home, as I just have, you should check out the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. Craftsmanship. You should see the posts at my house. Anyway, go check them out. aluminumcompany.com. First, let's say hi to people, because why not? We haven't done this, and we don't do it as consistently as we have in the past. We're going to get to it. I'm still trying to get into the rhythm of the season, man. We're trying to get these podcasts out quickly, and sometimes I don't have enough time to go through and see where everybody's from. California Caniacs in the house. Benson, North Carolina. Wake Forest checking in. Same with Clayton. And our friend Talia from Climate Pledge Arena. She's at a concert, Climate Pledge Arena, because the Seattle Kraken are not playing tonight. Fuquay checks in. Let's see, Cincinnati. There you go. Nice job. Not a fan of the Skyline Chili, but whatever. Still love your city. Big fan of Cincinnati. Banner Elk. My guess is that it's foggy in Banner Elk. Every time I've been there, it's been foggy. But my gosh, I love that town. I love the mountains, no matter what town you're in. Let's see. Down East Maine. Sounds lovely. Myrtle Beach checking in. Attaboy Svech. No doubt about it. Andrei was great. Let's see who else we have here. Somebody says Walker had a rough night. We're going to talk about it. If you could have a good, bad game, he did. Pyotr Kochetkov, blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about it. Ashe County, check it in. Raleigh, I'm familiar with that. Well, Chris says Skyline Chili is hot garbage. Okay. We don't have to go harsh there. All right. Let's get to it. Because this was a game that the Carolina Hurricanes utterly dominated. And we'll give you through data just how badly they should have beaten Vancouver. But it was also a game like the game Tuesday against Washington, really like the game Sunday against Toronto, that Carolina was just careless with the puck. And because of that, we get into the third period, and what was the time of the Taylor Hall goal? Taylor Hall scores, and it was relatively early in the third period, but still, Carolina had about 415 chances to score before Hall made it 3-3. But his goal tied the game. He was not missing from there. But, man, there were so many good things that we're going to go through. Vancouver's goals individually, show you where the mistakes were. We'll go through the Hurricanes goals, kind of to highlight where the good plays were. But Carolina could have easily been snake bit in this game, and because there are so many chances to score, so many opportunities, Carolina could not get it. Couldn't find a puck in the slot, couldn't get to it. Sometimes got to it and whiffed on it. Sometimes there were great plays made by Vancouver. I think it was it early in overtime or late in the third period. I think it was late in the third period. Jackson Blake had a rebound attempt of his own shot and backhand. I mean, looked like maybe an empty net. And Wielander, Tom Wielander, I think it is, just got a stick in the way and stopped Blake from putting Carolina ahead. So tons of chances. We're going to get to it. There were a lot of really good performances tonight, but the Hurricanes get a win that they absolutely deserve to get. And at the same time, they were their own worst enemy pretty much all evening long when it comes to all the chances that Vancouver created, because they didn't create anything. All right, so just in terms of data, and there are times where I think this stuff is misleading. I do not think this stuff is misleading tonight. Shot attempts, all situations, 94 to 30 in favor of Carolina. You just want 5-on-5, 87 to 23. It's essentially 4-1 in favor of Carolina attempts. Shots, 38-17. That's in all situations. 5-on-5, 33 to 12. Almost 3-1 shots on goal. Scoring chances. This is not grade A scoring chances, just garden variety scoring chances. 48 to 14 in favor of Carolina in all situations. 44 to 9 at 5-on-5. 22 to 2. Grade A scoring chances. 21 to 2 at 5-on-5. 21 to 2. How was this even a game? How was this even a game? But Carolina was all over this tonight. And it's one of those games where if it doesn't work out, if you don't win the game, at the end of it, you go, how the heck did we lose? But they didn't lose. And we're going to talk about some players tonight. And I want to get to the top line, but really Carolina really had for the most part, there were some obvious mistakes, right? And there was some poor play at times. But for the most part, man, there were no passengers tonight. The one thing you can always count on is the Hurricanes playing hard. And they did it tonight. Owned the game and absolutely deserved the game. All right, let me go through the 3 goals for Vancouver. And I mean, it's pretty simple. The first goal, Max Sasson, ends up being a breakaway, and he scores 5-hole on Pyotr Kochetkov. All right, let's go back to the beginning of the play. Sean Walker, not a great pinch. It wasn't egregious, but ultimately, you didn't have good enough cover. Taylor Hall, after the play, circles back. And if you're going to pinch, you got to get the puck. When Walker missed the puck, it left Hall to deal with it. Hall did a poor job of dealing with the puck. And then, as Vancouver's going the other way, Shane Gostisbehere collides with, I forget who it was for Vancouver, and all of a sudden Max Sasson has a breakaway. So probably an ill-advised pinch, a poor play by Hall at the blue line. Gostisbehere collides with the opposition, and all of a sudden it's breakaway. And this is my first, not so sure about Pyotr today, because it wasn't that it was 5-hole. We've known that you can beat Kochetkov 5-hole. But there was so much room. It was more like 55-hole. So his pad, his right pad, is well off the ice. The stick's not doing anything. And again, I said this during the, I typed it in, I guess I put it on Twitter. It wasn't like any of the goals were bad. But every single one of them, there was a save to be made. And again, I'm not asking him to save all of them. I thought that was a savable shot. Didn't save it. Okay, it's a breakaway. It's going to happen. 1-0. The goal by Elias Pettersson, the shorthanded goal. So, first of all, great setup by Sean Walker. Beautiful drop pass to Pettersson. Oh, wait. Wrong team. Thank you. Wow. And this one goes, I guess it was off the blocker and in. Looked like Kochetkov got a piece. I mean, Pettersson is a $10.5 million player, $11 million player. He's got all the talent in the world. Nobody should be surprised that he scored that. But Kochetkov did get a piece of it, so a save is there to be made. And it wasn't like right in front of the net, although grade A gifted scoring chance. Thank you, Sean Walker. So again, not expecting, you say you can't go, well, he has to have that one. No, he doesn't have to. Could have. And the third goal, Sean Walker takes, honestly, a dumb penalty. Rod Brindamore called it out for being a dumb penalty in the second period. It's a dumb penalty. It has nothing to do with anything. It's going to sound harsh, but it is, I guess. It's a selfish penalty. He just kind of gives a little poke to the chest, the midsection. Forget exactly who it was. Doesn't really matter. He's skating past somebody, and he just kind of gives him a little jab with the stick. And they were calling it. They called it. So Sean Walker goes to the penalty box. So Walker's actually, in some ways, culpable to a certain extent on all three goals. Certainly for the second one, the Pettersson shorthanded goal. And by taking a selfish penalty and going into the penalty box. And on that penalty, great pass from Brock Besser to Connor Garland across. Keandre Miller on the ice, broke his stick, blocking a shot earlier in the sequence. Nobody gives a defenseman a stick. Happened another time tonight. Mike Riley played a defensive sequence without a stick. Somebody's got to give the D-man a stick. I didn't understand that. That's very un-Carolina Hurricanes-like. But anyway, nobody gave Miller a stick, so he was incapable of affecting the pass across by Besser. And if Miller's got a stick, there's a good chance that pass does not get across. So, double-edged problem for Carolina. Poor penalty to take. Nobody's given Miller a stick. And then I actually think that Kochetkov could have gotten over and made the save, because it wasn't like Garland was right on the doorstep and it was a tap in. It wasn't. It was, 15 feet out or so. And Kochetkov was just a little slow going across, as though he thought the shot might have come from more directly in front. So I just thought it was a poor read, so he didn't get all the way over. And at that point, I was like, yeah, 3 goals, 8 shots. I think I've seen enough. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Rod Brindamore go to the bullpen and bring in Brandon Bussey. He was the backup tonight, not Frederik Andersen. But to Kochetkov's credit, even though I thought at the end of the first period, the Besser shot, juicy rebound put right back into play. Of course, the horn sounded, so it didn't really matter. But still, I just thought Kochetkov struggled for the first 30 or so minutes. But to his credit, he bounced back, and I thought the rest of the game, he was very good. So good for him for battling through it, and because he made a great save on Lucas Carlson in the third period, well after Carolina had tied it, and you're just like, let's get this one to overtime so at least we get a point. So all of this messiness doesn't cost us. And look, Vancouver didn't create many opportunities on their own tonight. And I'm not even sure that was created on their own as much as Carolina just kind of botched a couple of battles. But anyway, Carlson's coming in, and Kochetkov can't have a lot of good memories from tonight because it wasn't a great night. But he makes a huge save and ultimately the game goes to overtime, and we saw what happened. We're going to talk about the overtime in a minute. So those were the 3 goals that the Hurricanes gave up. And again, you don't want to not credit the other team, but unlike Washington, which forced Carolina into mistakes, I mean, this is really Carolina making the mistakes on their own. And like that part of the game, we have to end this little period. And again, for 3 games, Carolina's done this. They did it in Toronto, got away with it because the Maple Leafs are a defensive mess. They're not getting great goaltending, and the Hurricanes can score. They didn't get those opportunities to go against Washington, and the Capitals are just a much more sound team than the team Carolina played tonight or the team they played on Sunday. But you handed Washington goals, and tonight did the same thing. So got to get this out of the game. Oh, by the way, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Oilers are here tomorrow night. That ain't going to fly. You're going to give up a ton of goals if you keep doing that. Before we get to 2 players that I wanted to focus on tonight, real quick, Seth Jarvis. Again, Rod Brindamore said after the game, it looks like it'll be fine. He doesn't know if Jarvis will be able to play tomorrow, but he said at the very least, it shouldn't be too long. Good. It was scary from this standpoint. One, when I saw the play initially, I didn't notice the high stick because it wasn't an opposing player. It was Andrei Svechnikov. So they called a penalty, and I forget, they think they sent Marcus Pettersson to the penalty box for a cross-check. It's a terrible call. There was no penalty on the play. They called the penalty when Jarvis went to the ice. And yeah, Marcus Pettersson did kind of nudge him with the stick in the upper back, but for me, that's not a penalty. And Jarvis didn't really, I mean, it's just not, it's very light. Of course, they called a light penalty on Jackson Blake. So I didn't think that was a penalty either way. On that penalty, Andrei Svechnikov scored. So Vancouver probably feels pretty hard done by the referee there. But they called the penalty because Jarvis looked hurt. And he was, obviously. He was on the ice, like, really kicking the ice in pain. And when you see the replay, you see that it's Svechnikov's stick that looks like it might have scraped across the eye. And now you're thinking, oh my gosh, that could be really bad. There was no blood on the ice that I could see. They didn't come out to scrape anything off, so there wasn't blood. But it's pretty clear that the stick might have actually, like, touched eye. So there's a ton of scare about, the Hurricanes and Ryan Suzuki have an eye injury issue, right? You could get scratched cornea, retina, whatever. You could get damage that would have Jarvis out for a considerable period of time. And again, we don't know for sure what's going to happen, but all signs point to the positive. Kind of unlike when Jarvis took the puck off the back of the heel, and all signs pointed to negative. And as it turned out, he was okay because he is basically indestructible. But Jarvis left the game. He played 2:15 tonight. Carolina was down a forward right away. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who I thought, again, second game in a row, I thought played a very good game. Didn't play a ton, played 2 good periods, was physical. Like to see that, but that line was impactful, although it was kind of broken up because Eric Robinson and then Taylor Hall ended up playing on the top line, and they were moving around. Anyway, the Hurricanes were down to 10 forwards when Kotkaniemi left the game. I guess it was late in the second period. Anyway, hopefully he'll be okay because, again, I think we're starting to see Kotkaniemi play better. And I'm, without belaboring the point that I've probably made way too many times, the Hurricanes are a better team when Kotkaniemi plays this way. He adds an element that Mark Jankowski does not. Kotkaniemi can be a big, physical player with a bit of a higher end. And when he's playing this way, he can kill penalties like Jankowski. But Carolina's a better team when Kotkaniemi is playing well. The problem with Kotkaniemi is that when he doesn't play well, it goes the other way, and he's a drag. So this Kotkaniemi, let's see it more. And he'll get rewarded with more time. And he was going to get power play time because Jarvis was out and everything was moved around. But we didn't see it obviously in the third period because he didn't play. But a good game for Kotkaniemi, and let's hope that will continue. Now I want to talk about two players who really struggled against Washington. If you are a regular listener to this podcast, and I thank you for doing that, then you remember after the Washington game Tuesday, we spent a considerable amount of time saying when some of your best players are terrible, it's hard to win. When your best players are just there, not playing well, but not killing you, then you can make up for it when other players are picking up the slack. But Sebastian Aho and Keandre Miller on Tuesday against Washington were downright bad in the game to the point where it cost Carolina goals. Miller was bad several times. Aho was, no good most of the night anyway, but then the giveaway that leads to the Dylan Strome goal against the Caps, which was the eventual game winner. Those are crushers. And I was interested tonight to see how both of those players would bounce back. So Aho had 7 shot attempts, 4 on goal, a hit, 9 and 9. So 9 of 18 in the faceoff circle. He played 24 minutes. He scored the game-winning goal. He set up Andrei Svechnikov for the first goal that tied the game at 1. He was a +3. He was great tonight. The only skater on the ice that was better than Aho was Andrei, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But when you needed your guy, he wears a letter. He's your best player forward. When that guy has a bad game, you expect it to go the other way. You expect a bounce back. You demand it. I think Rod talked about it in the locker room after the game. And they got it from Aho tonight. Miller, another guy. He's probably played better games than he played tonight. However, on the heels of his worst game, and a couple of other games before then that were okay, but not great, it did bear watching whether or not he would be able to turn it around after what we saw Tuesday. Because Tuesday was awful. So Miller played 22-30 tonight. He was third on the team in ice time. 3 shots on goal, 8 attempts, 6 hits tonight, and a couple of blocked shots, including one that broke his stick and ultimately led to a goal. But still, I thought he was tremendous. And the play he makes on Evander Kane, the defensive play and the check that he makes on Evander Kane they were both great. And that actually started the sequence on which Carolina tied the game with the Taylor Hall goal. Miller was exceptionally good tonight. And I think he was good from the beginning, and I think it was because he made a point to be physical tonight. And I think sometimes when you're a great skater, and Miller is, and you have supreme talent, and Miller does, sometimes you can forget not to be physical, but the impact on your game that being physical can have. I think this goes for Andrei. I think we see this with Alexander Nikishin. When being physical is part of the package, and I think for all three of those players it is, it's good to see Miller be physical and ultimately it pay off in offense for Carolina. But I thought he was engaged the whole night. And again, 6 hits, I think tells a pretty big story. So you had Aho and Miller both bouncing back. Real quick, before I get to the overtime where Carolina won it. And I was talking about this with Corey Lavalette from The Athletic and the North State Journal, talked about it with Walt Ruff, talked about it with Trip Tracy. For years, Carolina has been trying to find a big forward, a power forward to play with Sebastian Aho. At times it was Aho and Teravainen, and now it's Aho and Jarvis. Trying to find a big body who could score to play and complement Aho and, again, now Jarvis. Because when you get to the playoffs, we've talked about this, playoff hockey and regular season hockey are not the same. And Carolina's been really good in the playoffs. Don't believe the garbage you hear. Carolina's been one of the best teams in the playoffs in the NHL over the last 7 years. You don't make 3 trips to the conference championship game. You don't make 3 trips to the conference finals without being good at playoff hockey. Sorry. The best teams get bounced in the first round. The Hurricanes have not. Bubble hockey, technically, they did get bounced in the first round. It was the quarterfinals. They got beat in 5 games by Boston. But kicking out bubble hockey, 6 playoff appearances for Carolina, 3 trips to the conference finals, and they have won a first-round playoff series every single year. So they must be good at playoff hockey, unless I'm nuts. Now, can they beat Florida? Well, in the last 2 years, nobody touched Florida. The year before that, the first year Carolina and Florida met in the conference finals, Florida was on a heater. Carolina was right there. Probably should have won game 1. Instead, they lost in 4 overtimes and at the end of the 4th overtime. And they probably lost the series right there, but all 4 games were tight. Carolina could have won any of the 4. I'm not saying that they were as good as Florida, but they could have won any of the 4. And if Jarvis doesn't hit the crossbar with Bobrovsky down in game 1 in the first overtime, they win that game. And who knows how the rest of the series goes. My point is, Carolina's style of play is fine. They just need to find a big body who can score on their top line. And maybe that big body is somebody they've had all along. Because when Andrei Svechnikov is playing like this, and you get Andrei and Aho and Jarvis, folks, that's a top line. Is it McKinnon and company in Colorado? Is it Rantanen and company in Dallas? Is it whomever? Is it McDavid and whoever in? No, it's not. There's about 5 teams that have lines like that. But Aho, Jarvis, and Svechnikov, that's bona fide top line. And as long as you can get this version of Andrei, if this becomes the norm for Andrei, I mean, he hasn't been on the score sheet every night. He hasn't dominated play every night. But now this is 9 games in a row where we're seeing like a really good to great version of Svechnikov. And you see how much, first of all, you see the change in him, and then you see how it impacts the game. Aho finds him for the first goal. He's in the right spot for Gostisbehere to find him for the second goal, the power play goal. And then he makes the play behind the net, which ultimately leads to the Taylor Hall goal. And he was just on it all night long. That is a top line. And when you have that going, and your second scoring line is Stankov and Blake and Ehlers, yeah, it's small, but it's going to play against, especially on home ice. Rod's going to control that matchup, and he's going to get them out against bottom six forwards, third pair defensemen, and those guys are creators. Blake was great tonight. He had some mistakes, always does a few, but again, super creative, everything but goals from that trio. But they've been so good. Ehlers fits beautifully with the way Stankoven and Blake play. And we saw Jackson Blake play everywhere. By the way, Blake tonight, only one shot on goal, 5 attempts. He had a takeaway. He always does. 22:47 of ice time. Second most among forwards behind Sebastian Aho. I mean, he was basically triple shifting at one point. But Jackson Blake always makes stuff happen. So it's good to see Carolina getting a top line. And the final thing I just want to talk about tonight, and real quick, Eric Robinson played up. I thought he was good. Rod probably wanted a little bit more up there. So after the second period or after the first period, maybe when Robinson finished there, he put Taylor Hall up there. And that's probably a little bit more representative. Oh, now playing with huge bodies suddenly. Excuse you. That might have been a little Randy. But Taylor Hall, even though he makes the mistake on the first goal, he didn't make a mistake in putting the puck away for the game tying goal. And he played a fair amount tonight, played 17 and a half minutes. He has the game tying goal. He had 4 attempts. And it was good to see Hall. That's the luxury you've got with a player like Taylor, is that he understands at his age, he is a bottom 6 option. But at the same time, for stretches, you can play him in your top 6. You can play him on your top line because muscle memory doesn't go away. And he has been in the past an elite player. He is a former MVP. In some ways, and I don't mean to refer to Taylor Hall as a guy in his mid-40s, in some ways, there's a Max Scherzer about him. He can come up with the goods at times. And I thought he did in the latter stages of the game tonight. Quickly to the overtime. Because I know I get a lot of questions about why does Rod do this? Why does Rod do that? Jordan Staal always goes out for the first faceoff. Always. 100% of the overtimes that he is available for, he will start the overtime. And tonight, Rod went with Staal, with Walker, and Gostisbehere. I have stuff to say about 3 defensemen tonight here in a second. I'm going longer than I normally would. So that's the way they start the overtime. Staal lost the draw. So he stays out with Walker and Gostisbehere. After about 45 seconds to a minute, he's close enough to the bench. Vancouver circles around back into their own end. Staal gets off. Aho gets on. It was like 2:50 into overtime before Carolina could get possession of the puck. And Gostisbehere and Walker would get off the ice. Now, Shane would come back on. I don't believe we saw Walker come back on. Keandre Miller came on as well. Aho stayed on for a little bit and played with, I believe, either Blake or Andrei. I think it might have been Andrei first. Anyway, it was it was nerve-wracking because, credit to Vancouver, they played it right. Overtime hockey, 3-on-3, is all about possession. Keep it as long as you can. Eventually, you'll get a scoring chance. Now, while Gostisbehere was good, and he had 3 assists tonight, he was not great defensively. And Walker was, as we've already described, all over the place. And a lot of it not good. They both played a ton because Walker played 25 and a half minutes. But in that overtime, they defended absolutely perfectly. When you don't have the puck, you are just trying to limit the damage. Keep everything to the outside. And that's really what Walker and Gostisbehere did. And ultimately, Vancouver keeps retreating. They have possession. And eventually, they probably tried a shot they shouldn't have. In overtime, keep the puck until you get a grade A. And when you get one, go after it. And I don't think Vancouver's shot attempt was all that great. And Carolina ended up with about 2 minutes left, finally getting control of the puck. Now, Keandre Miller took a bad shot. But Carolina won the faceoff, or at least won the puck back and got the puck. And that's when Aho ultimately, I think it's a faceoff win to the right of Lankinen. So he wins the draw, ends up getting, because Gostisbehere took a shot that Lankinen held on. The next faceoff, I believe, the Hurricanes won it. But Aho wins the draw, wins a battle with not really a physical battle, but he basically undresses Elias Pettersson, makes a little shimmy, gets around him, and then just unleashes a wicked wrist shot. Blocker side high, beats Lankinen, and Carolina wins the game. Gostisbehere, again, played 26 and a half minutes. Walker played 25 and a half minutes. Again, bad penalty, worse giveaway, and a bad pinch. He was involved in a negative way in all three Vancouver goals. So somebody on I think it was either Twitter or in the chat box here said how great Walker was tonight. Again, great. I wouldn't call him great. If he was great, he would have been one of the stars. And he's been amazing. So just not a great game for him tonight. A sloppy game, but it shows you the trust that Rod Brindamore has in him, because it was clear that Walker was not great, although the last half of the game he probably was. But we can't ignore what we saw in the first part. But it was cool to see Walker and Gostisbehere defend so well in the overtime, because it gave Carolina a chance. And Vancouver did not have a great scoring chance at all at 3-on-3, and they held the puck for the first 3 minutes. And that's the key. If you can avoid giving up a grade A at 3-on-3, you'll eventually get the puck back. And Vancouver showed maybe a little impatience, and Carolina ends with the puck, and Aho ends the game. So one more quick thing. Joel Nyström. I thought it was really good tonight. Really good. And it was great to see. I think he was, my opinion, Carolina's, well, considering Walker was such a mess, probably Carolina's third best defender. Played a little over 19 minutes. Both Riley and Nikishin were right around 16. I thought Nyström was really good tonight. So good for him. And good for the Hurricanes, and it was a great win. They deserved. Carolina deserved it, even though there were a ton just, what are you doing? But we had so many of those moments, especially in like the first 30 minutes of the game. But after that, once Carolina cleaned it up, not only were they dominant, but Vancouver didn't even sniff scoring chances after that. Matter of fact, they didn't have a grade A scoring chance at all in the third period, and obviously nothing in overtime. And they only had 2 all game. That'll do it. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. You should check out, you should subscribe to this right here on YouTube. You should subscribe to it. Follow the show wherever you get your podcast. You can give us a rating and a review if you want. That would be great. Love it, but it's not necessary. And we'll see everybody tomorrow when the Hurricanes do this against the Edmonton Oilers. Should be fun as well, right? Connor McDavid's always fun. Until then, I'm Adam. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company. If it's for the exterior of your home, might have just said this a second ago, but I don't remember. Aluminumcompany.com. See everybody later. Good night.